during the Yom Kippur War. The unit he led defended the Budapest outpost, the only bunker on the Suez Canal to withstand the Egyptian attack. During that battle, he lost his right arm. Mr. Levy is one of only 40 people in Israel's history to be awarded the Israel Hero Medal, Israel's highest decoration for valor in combat.
I got to Hadassah Hospital and 8 months took to get recovery from all the wound that I had. Then later on I came to make an official arm in 1975, 76, I think 75. And then Yossi Shechanover was the director of the Ministry of Defense here. He knew I'm in NYU in the military hospital, and he called me and said, look, the rabbi heard about you and he wants to meet you. I'm ashamed to say that I was not aware of the rabbi before. And I said, I don't have time to meet him. And he started laughing. He said, Moshe, from all over the world people come to meet the rabbi and you don't have time to meet the rabbi. You have to meet him. I said, okay, when? Then you need to be in Chabad at 11:30 at night and he will meet you at midnight. 11:30 at night, people don't sleep. I said, Moshe, after you be there, you understand. I said, all right. So I arrived at 770 in Brooklyn, and all the Hasidim was coming around me, telling me what you did, where are you going to meet the rabbi with? And I looked at them and I didn't understand what they want from me. So his assistant came at midnight and walked me into his room. I walked into his room. The room was, I think, 4 yard by 4 yard, very small room, only a table, no painting on the rooms, books, and some water. And it was a seat in front of him. And when I walk in, he asked me to move the seat and come close to him, sit on his side. And his assistant left, and then the rabbi was looking at me. And I tried to look at him, and I couldn't. His eye was so shiny, and I brought my eyes down. I met prime minister, presidents of countries, but always I didn't have any problem to look in anyone's eyes. But then I understand that here I'm meeting a very, very special person. And he started asking me questions about the war, what happened. And I told him the story. And he talked to me the way he was with me in the field. I told him, Rabbi, I will tell you a story that I want you to give me the answer. In our unit, in 98 soldier, we had only one religious guy. His name was Zandani from Moshav Inon. And the next Saturday of Yom Kippur, we were expecting a big Egyptian attack. Tanks. And the general came, he said, Moshe, you guys need to dig a line. Behind you, no one will stop the tanks to Tel Aviv. I remember I went in the front to set an example. I had a guy, sergeant with me, we dig in, all the soldiers digged in. And then it was quiet. It was 11:30 Shabbat. And one of the guy in the back, whose name is Avner, he died. He said, Moshe, how are we going to stop the tank with those rockets? Maybe we'll be able to scratch the paint of the tanks. By the time I was thinking, Zandani took a Tehillim with his hand, and he raised it, and he said, guys, with this we're going to stop the Egyptian. Everyone was looking at him. Of course, it was hot, so the helmet was on the ground. He opened the Tehillim, and he started reading Tehillim. And I'm looking to all the soldiers, and everyone took their helmet, put it on their head, and they say Amen. They didn't even know what he's reading. They didn't know that if you read Tehillim, you don't supposed to say Amen. But they say Amen. And that minute I told the sergeant, I said, look, if I stay alive, I make a neder to put tefillin every day for the rest of my life, because I feel now very close to God. And, you know, to hear it as a story, it's different. To see it, a different level, completely different. Then I stopped Zandani for a second. I stood up from the hole that we dig. And I said to all the soldiers, let me tell you guys, when Avner asked me how we stopped the tank, I didn't know how. I was looking for an answer. And Zandani gave us the answer. We are not here to protect Tel Aviv. We are here to protect history of thousands of years. We are here to protect the past, the existing, and the future of our nation. And the Egyptian start shooting and coming, and Zandani reading Tehillim. Of course, we blew many tanks, and the rest went back. Zandani got killed. So I met the rabbi. I said, look, the guy that brought us back, and one moment, all of us believed in God. All of us trusted God. I that said that I will put tefillin, God took my arm off. I cannot put tefillin. And Zandani that put all of us in that situation because of him, he got killed. So the rabbi looked at me with his eyes. And of course, even at that point, I've been with him 1 hour and 45 minutes. That went by like 5 minutes. I still could not look in his eyes, because every time that I tried, and I fight with myself, it is impossible that I cannot look in his eyes. And every time that I tried to do it, I couldn't. I just brought my eyes down. And the rabbi looked at me and he said, it's very simple. He said, you told me that all of you have been apikurosim. I said, correct. He said, Zandani, he gave his life. He said it doesn't make sense that 120 tanks, that 98 people be able to fight 120 tanks. All of you are supposed to die. But Zandani, by reading Tehillim, he put all of you become holy, and he sacrificed life for you. That's why he died. He said, but you're supposed to die too. But the minute you did the neder, you did the connection with God. But the truth is, before I met the rabbi, I met all kind of rabbis in Israel. When we were in the hospital, many rabbis came to visit the wounded. And that question bothered me all the time. And I asked all of them, and no one had an answer for me. And the rabbi had the answer, and for myself, it was a very good answer. It was a real answer for the real situation that we've in. And that time I was not with a lot of confidence, with one arm, my was right arm before. And I asked him, Rabbi, I have a question for you. You think that I will make it in life, I will be successful? And he looked at me and said, yes, you will be very, very successful. And he was right too. That conversation was very, very, very emotional. When we were talk about the story that I told him regarding that feeling and all, he was very, very smooth. He was very soft. He was talking slowly. And when we talked about giving up the land, he was very strong, with very strong voice. So that you see the difference between when he was very emotional and what he was as a leader talking. And when he talked like a leader, he was talking like a leader. The rabbi knew every detail that was during Yom Kippur. What happened before, how was the attacks, what happened the first day, the second day. I was amazed. I was there and he talked about all what happened there. Why the Yom Kippur started. Because that they recruit the Miluim twice, and the third time they didn't believe it would be a war. He said it was a big mistake that Sadat attacked on Yom Kippur. It's the holy day of the Jewish people. On one hand, the Egyptian army been punished by not let the Jewish people do their prayer in Yom Kippur. They had to go to the army. And he said, but the good of it, all the road was open. So soldiers could get very fast in there. So he had logic on everything that he said. He didn't talk like a rabbi. Usually rabbis are preaching. He was very intelligent. He talked as a general. He talked as a guy that have a doctrine of war. He, as in strategics, what happened and how happened. And the way he said it it's like he was there. He didn't miss any, include my fight. He knew exactly what happened there. I remember that he was correcting me on certain things, and that gave me the feeling like he was with me there. He knew every small detail that even me I was very accurate, but he was very, very accurate. Where the forces, where the vision were, and he was very upset why we didn't get to Cairo, why we didn't get to Damascus. If we could make as a point, it's not to occupy Cairo, not to occupy Damascus, but to make a point that we could show the strength to get in and take over, even for one day, Egypt and Cairo and Damascus, just to prove a point that our army is very strong. He believed the more we're going to hold the land and we're going to be in a better position to negotiate. And that strength will bring peace. And by giving land and obey to all the other countries, that show weakness and show giving up. And he said that every time we give up, it'll bring us to another stage that we need to give up again, and that will not be an end of it. And that was a very, very thing that upset him when he was talking about it. And if we see today, again, looking back, it was right again. The more we gave, they wanted more. So he was right again. The rabbi didn't like that we go and get permission from Washington to do things. He said, this is our land, that's promised by God, and we don't need any permission from nobody to be there. So, even though that I was sitting relaxed, but I felt that I was disconnected from the ground. I was somewhere in another place. Everything was so simple in that room, but so powerful. Remember, I've been in the Pentagon, and I went to visit the Deputy Secretary of Defense, and you see all the flag and all the soldier and all the guns and pictures of admirals and all that, and the generals with all the... He was supposed to be impressed of that. I was not. And when I walked to the rabbi and I saw the simplicity that he was living in, the table and only water, and that was something that I thought about many years later on that. It was something very, very powerful. It was him only. The hour and 45 minutes was really never happened in my life. Even from 1975 till now, never happened. That 1 hour and 45 minutes will be like 5 minutes. The conversation didn't stop either by me or by the rabbi. Conversation stopped because his assistant came. That stopped the conversation. The funny of all that is only one door going to the room. And when I stood up, I couldn't find how I'm going out. I was just amazed and blind from that session. There was no doubt. When I walked in, I was completely out of all that. And after I met the rabbi, I understand that it was very, very special. It was very, very knowledgeable. It was unique. I met Yossi Shechanover. I said, I'm ashamed what I said before. I apologize for it. And thank you for the big opportunity that I had. This one in a lifetime.